please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar and with me is Sonia Shenoy. Good afternoon, Sonia. In the last few minutes of trade, actually the market is really racing towards the low point of the day. So take a look at Nifty, Sensex, both of them in the red at this point. And midcaps, they are doing wonderfully well today, over 0.5% up. And Bank Nifty is on the flat line. Take a look at Reliance Industries. That has lost sheen. In fact, the largest contributor yesterday is today seeing some profit booking, it seems, and therefore the markets have also dropped. One stock on my radar clearly is UPL, which is up and about over 3.5%, close to 3.5% in trades today, Sonia.
Yes, I think for the frontliners, it's consolidating, as you rightly said. It's just that all the action has now moved to the broader market. The Nifty Junior should come up for you. Not only the mid-cap index, which is up, the Nifty Junior is up as well. It's up almost about 0.6%. Now, this is positive because generally when the market is trending upwards, it's the broader stocks that start to move up, and that's an indication that the bias is still on the with the bulls, that is, this afternoon. In terms of individual stocks, JSW Steel is your big mover because of that inclusion in the Nifty. Future Consumers is up almost about 7% and a lot of other auto ancillary names like Bharat Forge, etc. surging higher. But a quick look at what's happening across the globe. European markets have opened slightly higher as Canada rejoins the US-Mexico trade talks. We do have Asian markets that were mixed today after Wall Street hit another record high overnight as trade fears have eased. So 3 days running now, Wall Street has been hitting record highs.
All right, let's take it straight to the commodity space as well and take a look at crude oil prices. They are under pressure today. Let's take it straight across to Manisha Gupta, who is here to help us understand the key reasons for this kind of a movement. Manisha.
Thank you so much for that, Nisha. Well, at best, you can call it flat as we are looking at the crude oil prices. But just to give you a sense on what the run-up really has been, from nearly $71 in case of Brent as a lower point of this month, we are trading around 76. So it has been a good $5 to $6 of an up move that we have seen come in for the crude oil prices. The Iran sanctions is at the core of it, where the markets are anticipating that the supplies would go offline because of that. And then there are concerns also coming in because of potential supply disruptions that you could see from Venezuela, Nigeria, Algeria, Libya, etc. The only one thing that is keeping lid on the prices really is that there is an expectation that the non-OPEC supply will start increasing by the fourth quarter. If you look at the Canada output, that's the highest since 1982. The shale output from US has been higher as well. And the markets do anticipate that Russia will continue to be in that race also. The Indian petrol and diesel prices at an all-time high, the record lows in cents of rupee. All of this, especially with the crude oil prices at around 2-week highs, doesn't really clearly augur well.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. So that's Brent crude, continues to be around $76 a barrel, not boding well for our economy. Our colleague Anshu Sharma, though, caught up with the Power Secretary Ajay Kumar Bhalla and began by asking him about the solutions proposed and the number of assets that we can expect to be resolved by the Empowered Committee. Listen in.
Often it is difficult to say. As I said, about 10 to 12 assets were under bidding by the lenders as part of the resolution outside NCLT, and bids have been received in many cases, and it was under discussion among all the lenders for a final resolution of some of these assets. So I mean it will be lead banks who would be able to say that how many of those could be resolved at the earliest.
But in the past, we've seen that CDR, SDR, and other means of restructuring loans have not worked, and it's been many years that these assets are still grappling with stress. How confident are you that under IBC or the solution that committee will come out with will actually help the power assets to?
See, I mean, IBC depends on who are the people who take over these assets and for how long they can hold and finally look for PPAs and all. But the High Power Committee definitely would like to address some of these issues in the sector on resolving some of their problems, because even if these assets are bought by another developer, some of the sectoral issues would need to be sorted out so that they don't go into further stress.
No interim relief given to the power sector. What happens now with regards to the stress in the power sector?
See, lenders will have to follow as per the RBI. There are different steps they need to take. As far as High Power Committee is concerned, or as directed by court, we have convened the meeting on 31st of October, and we have written to RBI Governor for sending a representative for the meeting, as mentioned in the court order also.
So will it have any implication on more number of power assets considering the circular remains in place?
Yeah, if there's no further interventions from courts, then procedure as per the IBC Act will have to be followed by the lenders, and they will have to proceed accordingly.
There's also mention in some of the reports that government will seek 180 days more as per what it had stated in the Allahabad High Court. Is that true?
See, the court itself says that you can explore the possibility of Section 7 consultations with RBI. So that part Ministry of Finance will have to look at, and we'll have to understand from them that whether that process of consultation is being started with RBI under Section 7.
All right, so that was the Power Secretary. Now remember, the big story has been that Allahabad High Court has really not given any relief to the power sector, and therefore the bad loan woes really continue in that sector. In fact, the larger repercussion will be on the banking sector, the lender community. And we spoke to Papia Sengupta, the Executive Director of Bank of Baroda, who says that they are confident that at least 4 power assets should get resolved outside of NCLT process.
If we look at those assets which have more than 2,000 crore outstanding from the banking sector, as per the RBI 12 circular, we have 30 of these assets which, if not resolved, will need to go to the NCLT. But our total would be around 11,000 odd crores. But we don't see much problem there, because we have been adequately taking provisions in these. And out of these, I think we have 11 assets which are in the power sector itself. We do have an exposure in 4 of them. Okay, we are fairly with the lenders in this resolution process. Out of the 11 assets that I spoke to you about, 4 we are fairly confident that there will be a resolution outside the NCLT.
It is still flat for the markets, although the mid-cap index is picking up some pace. Some of these PSU banks have moved well this afternoon. So whether it's Bank of India, which is up almost about 4%, Canara Bank, Bank of Baroda, that whole lot really. Look at the PSU bank index itself. In the last 5-10 minutes, it's moved to the high point, and volumes are also picking up on many of these names. Don't know what it is. City Union Bank, a couple of other banking names also doing pretty well. IDFC too in the green right now. But talking about some corporates, Tech Mahindra is well poised to comfortably beat the 7 to 9% growth guidance outlined by NASSCOM for FY19, says the company's CEO and MD CP Gurnani. In an exclusive chat with CNBC-TV18's Nithya Balakrishnan, he outlines Tech Mahindra's 5G project pipeline. Adding revenues from the telecom vertical will increase for the company from the next fiscal. Let's listen in.
Technology player, I am going to be ready, and I will announce my partnership in September.
Sure.
I also said is that we will be doing a few pilots by 2019 March.
Yes.
And the reason I said this is because the spectrum auctions have only started now.
Yes.
If the technology is ready, Europe auctions are, later during the year, or some in 2019. Most industry knows this is a technology in 2019 calendar year.
Yes.
There will be rollouts, but phased rollouts.
True.
2020 is when it starts accelerating. It's actually completes or will reach 80% penetration by 2023.
If I can talk about the contribution that telecom has as a vertical to your revenues currently, what would that be? And how much of an investment bet will you take on 5G? How do you expect revenues changing as a result?
we avoid any forecast, but if I look at the current data, I'm at about 43-44% in telecom. Out of that, if a company-wide, my network business should be about 11 or 12%.
Sure.
My belief is that as we get into full throttle towards 2019 calendar year end, and we start getting active rollouts, you will see my telecom graph actually going up, my network percentage graph going up.
Interesting.
And it's because, A, those pilots will become business.
True.
And number two is the market auctioning process would have got completed. Now, whether we do it as a capex expenditure or we convert it into an opex, capex to opex, that's a business model.
Do you think the 7 to 9% sector forecast is actually cautious in a certain sense? Do you think that the Indian IT sector could even be beating that by the end of the fiscal?
Again, I have always said is that Tech Mahindra will do better than the NASSCOM forecast.
Sure.
We don't give any guidance, and,
yes, we know.
And it's not right for me to try and give you where the sector is, because
absolutely,
as a company, I'm very confident that we will beat the NASSCOM guidance.
Yes.
And clearly, the factors of business around the world are only looking positive.
All right, businesses and the factors impacting their business looking positive is the word coming in from Tech Mahindra. Let's shift focus to the insurance space then, and the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority, or IRDA, has specified the guidelines for longer tenure motor third-party policy. Yash Jain, our colleague, gets us all the details and what it means for the sector. Yash.
Well, Nisha, much needed clarity coming from the insurance regulator IRDA as far as the regulations around the longer tenure motor third-party insurance policy is concerned. Essentially, IRDA has very clearly stated that starting September 1st, all general insurance companies will have to compulsorily sell motor third-party insurance policies for a minimum period of 5 years and 3 years, respectively, for two-wheelers and private cars. Remember, this current minimum period currently stands at 1 year for both the vehicle segment. Also, the IRDA has said that the insurance companies which register their products with them before August 31st will get an immediate approval as far as those products are concerned. Coming to the regulations, and which has been specified in the order, and starting with the most important aspect where we've seen the major amount of changes, that is the pricing part. Here, if I talk about the longer tenure 5-year motor TP policy for two-wheelers, the two-wheelers coming under 75cc category, there is a downward revision of 51% as far as the premium pricing is concerned for 5 years. The two-wheelers coming in the category of 75 to 150cc, there is a downward revision of 9%. Two-wheelers in the category of 150 to 350cc, there's an upward revision of 11%. Remember, these are the 5-year pricing premium for this particular vehicle category, and the two-wheelers above 350cc will see an upward revision of 11%. As far as private cars are concerned, there also below 1000cc vehicles will see a downward revision of 5%. The vehicles in the category of 1000 to 1500cc will see an upward revision of 11%, and above 1500cc an upward revision of about 3%. As far as pricing is concerned, this is the picture. But as far as accounting of the premium income is concerned, insurance companies won't be allowed to account for the entire 5-year or 3-year premium in one go. They will have to account for that premium every year in their balance sheet, and the balance amount, essentially 4 years for two-wheelers and 2 years for four-wheelers, will have to be shown in a separate category of premium deposit or advance deposit in their balance sheet. But positive aspect, they'll be able to use that particular balance amount for their investment income.
Okay, thanks a lot for explaining that to us, the motor insurance norms, the new norms that is. But moving on, the big story of the afternoon really is the way the rupee has plunged to an all-time low against the dollar, 70.5 now. Of course, we all know that a falling rupee is good for the economy. Lata is here to tell us more about that. So fresh lows day after day, Lata.
Yes, actually today all EM currencies are under pressure. Even if you looked at the won, peso and Singapore dollar, they're all down between 0.25% and 0.3. We become the third worst performing currency at about a 0.7 fall. What is disconcerting only is that the two guys even worse than us are Lira and Rand. So not very good company. But I mean, that I don't want to scaremonger. there is usually a month-end jump in dollar demand. It could be oil companies, it could be importers who have to meet payments by a certain deadline, a month-end deadline. So this is not unusual, and it may be a central bank which is not rushing to protect the dollar too much. But to be fair, or rather to present the other side, there was a lot of dollar selling by public sector banks, which means the Reserve Bank will perhaps brook genuine demand for dollars, but it will not suffer any speculative positions of short positions on the rupee. That seemed to be the message. Basically, one is expecting only a gentle depreciation as of now, going by the watch that is being kept and the fact that public sector banks were noted selling dollars.
All right, Lata, so fresh lows for rupee there, but stay with us because RBI's annual report also says that 99.3% of all banned notes are back in the banking system post demonetization, and they have also pegged the total collection at 15.3 lakh crore rupees. Lata, tell us more about this.
Last year we were told it would be 15.28 that has been collected, but they told us that this is a temporary number since we are still verifying. Now the verification is over. I think that is the news that's come in, that the verification is over. It's 15.3 trillion that has come back out of 15.4 trillion that was out there in the economy, and therefore 99.3% has come back. But I think the other takeaways from the annual report are even more important, and that is there's a certain confidence and optimism about the economy. They say there were twin problems of GST and demonetization, but FY18 was clearly an inflection point. From the second quarter onwards, you could see the jump. And you know, conservative central banks don't use words like inflection point. That means they're genuinely positive about the growth. They point out to things like gross fixed capital formation. Q2, Q3, Q4 of FY18 showed an increase. Private final consumption expenditure also showed an increase. These are the two engines of growth. Capital and capital expansion and consumption both showed a growth. That the only area of concern was a very severe fall in food prices, probably because monsoon was good and the government was prepared with imports, and so there was definitely terms of trade going against agriculture. Again, manufacturing did reasonably well. You could see the uptick coming in. It's not that you've already reached high levels, but quarter after quarter, the improvement was very clear according to them. But the problems, the red flags, you are not immune to global turmoil, especially in the currency space, as we know now, and upside risks to inflation. Definitely, they point out that there is that worry, and that is partly also because last year as well, the fiscal deficit of states cum center was a little worse than targeted, and this year they fear it could get worse if because of elections governments go a little overboard. So those are the red flags they point out.
Okay, thanks a lot for that, Lata. Well, some clarifications coming in from Jet Airways. This is with respect to one of the news articles suggesting that the IT department has probed Jet Airways Godrej Buildcon land development deal. Jet Airways said that all the accounting has been done in compliance with the regulations, and there are no issues as far as that deal is concerned. So that's the clarification coming in from Jet Airways. Of course, the stock continues to be under pressure post its very disappointing numbers.
Look at the markets, 11,710 levels at Nifty, and it has dropped further from where we started at. So it's the low point of the day that Nifty 50, Sensex have touched in the day today. Midcaps holding on strong, and Bank Nifty is the one which has slipped into the red, so it's not adding to any support coming in. But one counter that has really kept Nifty 50 a little alive is State Bank of India, which has perked up in the last few minutes of trade and is at the high point of the day. Take a look at Cipla as well. That is one of the gainers. But what is really not... All right, what's really not doing well is Cipla. Let's take it straight across to CNBC-TV18's Shireen Bhan, who's joining us with P. Chidambaram. Shireen.
Well, thanks very much. Yes, joining us now is the former Finance Minister, Mr. P. Chidambaram, to comment on the annual report released by the Reserve Bank, which finally puts end to speculation on how much of the currency returned to the banking system post-demonetization, 99.3% returning to the banking system. Mr. Chidambaram, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18. As I said, the debate now ends on that number, which has been made clear by the Reserve Bank of India. But if I could present to you the government's argument, this is Finance Minister Arun Jaitley's comments from June June of this year, saying that demonetization led to a lot of people in possession of undeclared cash, depositing the same in the banking system. The source of the money was now questioned. Almost 18 lakh people were identified who've made deposits disproportionate in their returned incomes. The use of technology has helped the tax department significantly, going on to say that this is added to the direct tax filers going up. That's the government's point of view on how we should view the exercise of demonetization, irrespective of how much money has returned.
The government shifts its goalposts month to month, sometimes even week to week. Why did they tell the Supreme Court that they expect that 3 to 4 lakh crore rupees will not return to the Reserve Bank of India? They will be demonetized, and that's a windfall gain to the RBI, which will be transferred to the Government of India. Did they make that statement or not? The government should answer, yes, we made the statement, or no, we did not make the statement. Bluff and bluster will not wish away that statement they made. As regards money returned to the Reserve Bank of India, who is to decide whether it's black or white until a final decision is taken? It's obvious that people have laundered their black money, and the banking system had no way to reject it as long as someone stood in a queue and deposited the money in a bank, and that was sent to the Reserve Bank of India, which has now counted it and finally reported that practically every rupee has come back, 99.3%. Now, whether it's black money or white money is a long process. No minister can pronounce all that money is black, just as no one can pronounce all that money is accounted for in white. Each case has to be adjudicated. It will be subject to appeal, a further appeal, writ petitions, appeals, and until it's finally adjudicated, and when it is finally adjudicated, we'll know the result. At the moment, the truth is that 99.3% has returned to the Reserve Bank of India, contrary to the declarations of the government. And government must say, mea culpa.
Oh. On the issue, sir, of the sustained increase in direct filers, because that is the argument again that the government is giving, that demonetization along with GST has had a significant impact on governance as well as the government policies on enhancing direct tax collections. Do you believe that if this were to be acknowledged today by the government as a stated objective, then perhaps demonetization has made some difference?
No, the same result could have been achieved by less disruptive, less painful, less destructive means. Go back and look at the secular increase in the number of filers year after year after year. When we sharply reduced income tax rates in 1997, for the next few years, the number of filers increased. Again, when we rationalized some income tax provisions, the number of filers rose. So the same result could have been achieved by automation, by digitization, by third-party reporting, a number of other ways in which the same result could have been achieved without destroying lives of thousands and thousands of people and without destroying thousands and thousands of small and medium enterprises. And look at the price the country has paid. A 1.5% decline in GDP means 2.25 lakh crore a year, 2,25,000 lakh crore a year. Now, who's going to bear accountability or responsibility for that? The same result could have been achieved by avoiding demonetization and by implementing GST in a better and more efficient manner.
Mr. Chidambaram, you know, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance is looking at the issue of demonetization. The Standing Committee of Finance is headed by your party colleague, Mr. Veerappa Moily. I spoke with him yesterday. I also spoke with other members of the committee, including Mr. Dinesh Trivedi. And Mr. Trivedi was of the view that the Parliamentary Committee on Finance must put forward its report. It must finalize its report, and the deliberations have been going on endlessly. Mr. Moily's view is that some matters require further deliberation. So the fate of this parliamentary committee report on the impact of demonetization itself is uncertain. Your thoughts on that?
Of course, the report must be published and placed before Parliament. I'm not a member of the committee, so I don't know what the current state of affairs is. But as a matter of principle, when a parliamentary committee deliberates on a subject matter, it must place its report before Parliament.
But do you believe that Mr. Moily says that all the reports under his chairmanship so far have been unanimous, and it seems very clear that the 17 BJP members on the Parliamentary Standing Committee of Finance do not perhaps agree with the committee's recommendations as well as the committee's findings, and hence there may have been the possibility of dissenting reports and dissenting notes. Do you believe that that in the quest for unanimity we might see this report not see the light of day?
I don't know. I can't comment on a basis of speculative stories. I can't. It's a parliamentary committee, and if there are dissents, let there be dissenting notes. What's wrong? Dissent is the very lifeline of debate. So let there be as many dissents as necessary, but let a report come to Parliament.
Okay, let me end then by asking you, Mr. Chidambaram, about the state of the economy according to the Reserve Bank's annual report as well, of course, saying that India is not immune to bouts of financial market turmoil. What we are seeing today is a concern and a worry as far as the current account deficit is concerned. The rupee continues to depreciate, albeit in a calibrated and gradual fashion. Your thoughts on the CAD, the rupee, and the state of the economy?
Well, the state of the economy is a cause for worry. The RBI articulates the worry much later than many other economists have done. We are pretty certain that given the current trends, the government will not be able to meet the fiscal deficit target. The current account deficit will certainly cross 2 and maybe touch 2.5. The rupee will depreciate a little more, but whether that's good or bad is a different debate. And investment will continue to remain in the doldrums, and credit squeeze to small and medium units will continue. I mean, all these 5 indicators that I've said, and many more that many economists have added, points to an economy that is being incompetently managed.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chidambaram, it's always a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks very much for your time. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18. That's the former finance minister saying that the demonetization exercise was an exercise in futility and cost the Indian economy significantly, both in terms of growth and in terms of economic output. For now, it's back to you.
All right, thanks, Shireen, for joining us. So that's the word coming in from P. Chidambaram, the former finance minister. With that, it's a wrap on Business Lunch, but Midcap Radar is coming up next, so stay tuned for that.